So we often do these local advisory council updates in person. Of course, this year that is not something that many people are doing, so we decided to offer them virtually. When Tennessee Promise passed in 2015, the legislation was written that every county needed to have a local advisory council, and that's a group appointed by the county mayor that just is made up of people from the community to help us with two things mainly. First, understanding the students in each individual community, because we know that what works in Scott County may be different than what works in Knox County. So we want to be able to serve each student in the way that works best for them. The second thing is to help us recruit volunteer mentors, and I'm sure many of you are volunteer mentors or are familiar with that part of our program, and we'll talk about it a little bit today. But we need guidance in where to go to find people to work with the students in Scott County each year. So this year, in addition to opening these presentations up to the local advisory councils, we decided to also invite all of our external stakeholders. So our post-secondary partners, our business partners, really anyone who wanted an update on what's going on in the local community. So thank you again for being here today. And at any point, let me know if you have questions or comments. So just to give you guys a little bit of background, tnAchieves is a privately funded 501c3. We partner with the state to facilitate the Tennessee Promise program in 90 of the 95 counties across the state. So you'll see on this map, there are a few gray counties, and those are facilitated by another partnering organization called the Airspace. We started in Knox County in 2008, and obviously once Tennessee Promise passed, expanded across the state, and since 2008 have served over 440,000 students and worked with over 71,000 volunteer mentors since we began. Each year, we work with over 600 Tennessee high schools and 67 post-secondary institutions across the state that are Tennessee Promise eligible. Some of our main components, three of which have been with us since the very beginning. The first being our most well-known is the Last Dollar Scholarship. So the opportunity for any Tennessee high school senior to attend college free of tuition and fees. Any of our four-year schools, any of our technical colleges, Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technology, and then there's also the opportunity at some of the four-year schools that offer associate's degree programs to receive that Last Dollar Scholarship. Each student that applies for Tennessee Promise is paired with a volunteer mentor. So that is someone from their local community that signs up to work with between 5 and 10 students as they transition from high school to college. So reminding them of critical deadlines, making sure that everybody knows what they should be doing along the way to college. The third component that's been with us since the very beginning is that community service component. So the chairman of our board is a Boy Scout, and a community service is a really important piece of this puzzle for him. And so when Tennessee Promise came statewide, it was really important that we continued that community service component. So we're really trying to create a culture of giving back for these students. Most of our students have never done community service before, so this is their experience looking for something in the community to do and getting involved in different ways. 96% of our students say they enjoyed their community service opportunity. So we're really hoping that this cultivates that culture moving forward and not just as a requirement for Tennessee Promise. The fourth component are summer programs. So we offer a 3-week summer bridge program for any student who graduates from high school, does not test into college level classes, which is over 70% of our students. We offer a 3-week, we call it an academic boot camp, where they can go and get instruction in reading, writing, and math, and have the opportunity to test into college level at the end of that program. We've been doing that since 2012 and seen some really great success. 89% of the students that participate in that program do improve or test out of learning support classes. So we've seen a lot of success there, and it's offered at all 13 community colleges across the state and a couple of the satellite campuses as well. We also have a program called our Summer Institute. This is a smaller program, currently only offered in Memphis. However, we're looking at expanding that program, but that's a 10-week program that's a lot more hands-on. So every student that participates in the Summer Institute takes all 3 learning support classes in addition to 3 college level classes. So they go through that whole six entire classes throughout the 10-week program, and then start college in the fall with 9 college credit hours under their belt. So 100% of those that participate in that program actually do complete everything and start college with 9 credit hours. So we're super proud of that program. It's a lot smaller. 29 students participated this year, but the results are really great. And so we're looking at ways to expand that. And then the final component is our complete coaching model. So that is paid full-time staff members that are assigned to our most at-risk students once they start college. So our volunteer mentors are really meant more on the access side, so getting more students to college. And then the complete coaches are meant for success. So helping with retention and completion, making sure that students are checked in with each month to work through any challenges that they're facing in their college career. You'll see in the green box how we talk about believing in the power of targeted communication. If you guys have been on the receiving end of Tennessee Achieves communication, you are aware that we send a lot of emails and text messages, 10 million emails a year and 6 million text messages. This is to ensure our students and parents and stakeholders just know what they should be doing at any step in the process. So we really believe that the targeted communication for deadlines is really a game changer in what's shifting the way that students behave. So if you talk about the reach of Tennessee Achieves, so I've mentioned a couple of these, working with 600 high schools and 67 post-secondary institutions across the state. That's in the 90 counties we serve. 74 of those counties are rural counties, which includes Scott County. And then 35 of our 90 counties are considered at risk or distressed by the state. If you look at where our students attend, the majority of them do go to community college. So 79% of our students are enrolling at a community college, and then 11% enrolling at a TCAT, Tennessee College of Applied Technology, and then 10% at those eligible four-year institutions. We work with over 60,000 applicants each year, which is 89% of Tennessee high school seniors. So when we talk to high school counselors, we encourage counselors to have all students apply to Tennessee Promise. We know every student in the state of Tennessee is not going to go to a Tennessee Promise institution. However, it's an amazing opportunity, a great backup program, regardless of where students plan to attend college. So we do encourage students or counselors to have all students apply. 89% of high school seniors do apply each year. That makes up that 60,000 applicants that we receive. 78% of the first-time full-time freshmen at community colleges are Tennessee Achieves students, and 86% of the students that graduate each year from community colleges are Tennessee Achieves students as well. Over half of our students, so 56% of our students, are eligible for the Pell Grant. That is the federal need-based funding. So many of our students are not even receiving funding from the Tennessee Promise Scholarship, but they are still considered Tennessee Promise students because we do assign them to a coach. We work with them through their college career, and sometimes their finances change, so they do end up receiving Tennessee Promise later. 40% of our students are first-generation college students, meaning they would be the first in their families to receive a post-secondary credential. So really changing the trajectory of their family moving forward. And then 51% of the students that we serve are majoring in health sciences and STEM related fields. We are often asked about the cost of running this scholarship, especially from other states and communities that come to us. So each year we spend a little over $30 million on the scholarship portion of the program. So that's paying those tuition and fees directly. And then we operate the program with 27 staff members. The cost for operating that is $2.5 million annually to partner with the state. tnAchieves operating budget is $2.5 million. A couple of the benchmarks that we look at when we're looking at data, which is often, we are a very data-driven organization. The two things that we measure on the access side are FAFSA file rate and community service. So statewide, the number of students that complete the FAFSA of the students that apply to Tennessee Promise is 86%. In Scott County, it's a little lower than that, 79% last year. I will tell you that many states think 50% is good. So 79 is not looking too shabby, but as far as statewide average, it is a little below. So we do have some work to do in the FAFSA file department in Scott County. So we will continue to offer virtual FAFSA help sessions, do FAFSA file nights, work with the counselors to do anything that we can to increase that FAFSA file rate. Community service across the state, we have over 3 million community service hours since we started. 15,000 of those have been completed by Scott County students. So really hoping that people are noticing a change in community service in their local communities done by Tennessee Promise students. Another key measurement that we look at is college going rate. So how many students that graduate from high school are going to college directly after their high school career? So you will see the pandemic had a large impact in college going rates across Tennessee, but also across the country. In 2015, you'll see our increase from almost 58% to 62.5%. That was when Tennessee Promise passed. And we've kind of hung around that 62% since then until the pandemic, and our college going rate dropped from almost 62% to nearly 57%. So you will see that drop also happened in Scott County in 2019. We were sitting at 59%. So a little lower than state average, but still not doing horribly on the college going rate. But then in 2021, down to 51%. So just over half of the high school seniors are going to college after high school. What we've seen is that with the pandemic, many students have gotten full-time jobs or are working from home and just don't see the value in going to get that post-secondary credential. So that's sort of the communication that we're trying to work with and change the thought process in our high school seniors so that they do see the value in getting a college degree so that they can continue to grow in their career. So outcomes statewide for tnAchieves students. When we look at success rates, what we measure is retention, first year retention. So how many students that start in college come back that following fall? For us, it is 67%, which doesn't sound awesome. We still obviously have a lot of work to do. We have about 33% of students that we need to come back the following fall. But when you look at state averages for community college students, it's 53. So the things that we're putting in place, the structure we are putting around the college going and completion process is working, 14% higher than the state average. But again, still have work to do. 74% of students that apply to Tennessee Promise and go anywhere. So that that could be the students that go to four-year schools that are outside of Tennessee Promise eligibility. For any student that goes anywhere, our retention rate is 74%. So it is a little higher than those that are Tennessee Promise eligible, simply because the four-year schools typically do have higher retention rates. 6-year graduation rate for tnAchieves students is 51% versus the statewide average of 35% for community college first-time full-time freshmen. When you look at some of the programming that we put around students, and the change that it makes in the retention and completion numbers, for those students who are participating in our summer programs, their likelihood of retaining for the following year is 34% higher. For complete students, so those students that are being coached, 23% higher. And then for our newest program, it's called Knox Promise, very similar to the coaching model, but in Knox County, we coach every student, not just the highest risk student. And we're also able to offer emergency funding, what we call completion grants. So grants for things outside of tuition that's already covered. So things like books or rent or transportation. And that retention is 42% higher than their peers. So the programs that we put in place are working. We're always looking at ways to expand those because we do see that they bring a lot of value to the table. So looking at student progress in Scott County, we have about 274 applicants each year in Scott County, 99 of which, so about 100 students enroll with Tennessee Promise. That doesn't mean that other 174 do not enroll in college anywhere. They may go somewhere elsewhere, somewhere else outside of Tennessee Promise eligibility, so that, or somewhere out of state. So the retention in Scott County is really great. I wish we could say our retention across the state was over 70%. So 72% of those that are going to college are coming back that second year. And then the 3-year graduation is also higher than the state average. So statewide, we're looking at 35% 3-year grad rate. In Scott County, 42% of those students that start college do graduate within 3 years. So really doing better in both the success measurements in Scott County versus the statewide average. So for one of the biggest pieces of our program, what I like to say is really the heart of our program. It's our volunteer mentors. So our mentors serve as task managers for students, ensuring that they know about all the deadlines they need to maintain to keep their Tennessee Promise scholarship, making sure they apply to college on time. They think about where they want to go, what they want to major in, completing community service. So making sure they're aware of all their deadlines and keeping up with them, being a resource for students. So our mentors certainly do not have the answers to all of our students' questions. I still don't know the answers to all of our student questions. But you are, or mentors are resourceful and can help find the answers by working with the college or working with tnAchieves staff members to help students find answers. And then being that encourager, which I would argue is the most important piece of the mentorship program. Many of our students do not have someone at home who's encouraging them to go on and get their post-secondary credential. And if they hit a roadblock or have a challenge in the process, which most of them do, they typically don't have anyone at home that's able to help them through the process or through that challenge. And so having that mentor there to help them through whatever they have figured out or whatever they have hit as a roadblock to get into college and then hopefully get their post-secondary credential. So we are already recruiting our mentors for the class of 2022. It's 12-hour annual commitment, and people can apply by going to tnAchieves.org. The deadline to apply is December 3rd. In Scott County, we're anticipating needing 42 mentors. We have both returning and new mentors. So for new mentors, they would just complete the application online, and then we have 1-hour training that they would have to complete. For returning mentors, they could just let any of our staff members know that they want to return or complete the application online, and we'll be doing a 30-minute refresher training. So talking about the differences in mentoring in 2022 versus last year. So for any of you guys who served as a mentor or who have served as a mentor in the past, We used to do everything in person. We would have meetings on campus, work with students individually. And then last year, because of the pandemic, we did everything virtually. So we invested in a mentor platform that could be done completely online. This year, we will be doing a hybrid. So any mentor who's interested in doing everything virtually again can continue to do that. But we will be offering some in-person open houses and things where students and mentors can get together to build that relationship and get to know each other more. Anytime we present to anyone, we're often asked, what is the next steps? What's something I can do to help this program? And the first one we've talked about, becoming a mentor. If you know anyone who wants to become a mentor, or if you yourself have not signed up for 2022, please encourage people to do that or do so by. The second is connecting us to your community. So we will talk to anyone who will listen to us about the mentorship opportunity. I don't think there's a Rotary Club in the state of Tennessee we have not visited. So we're always happy to do in-person or virtual meetings with different community organizations or businesses. So if you are part of any of those organizations or have a business that you wouldn't mind letting us come speak to staff members about the opportunity, you can just email mentors@tnAchieves.org to set up a time. And the final thing that you can be doing to help with your community is telling people about Tennessee Promise. So the application for the class of 2022 is live. If you know any high school seniors, they have to apply by November 1st. If they don't apply in their high school senior year, they do not have the opportunity to apply later. So it's super important that they complete that process before the deadline. That is all the data that we have for today. Like I said, really always able to dig into things further. If you have questions or thoughts that you want to go over or anything you would like to ask now, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys